Hey, this is Annex, and in this tutorial I'm going to go over how to use the chord progression quick reference guide, aka cheat sheet. That's available on my website, and the website is annexproductions.eu. You go over to tutorials and you scroll down, and it's the first one here. So you open it, it's PDF, and it looks like you see here on the image. So I'm just going to walk you through what it is, how to use it, and how to actually use that knowledge that you gained from this to put it into your DAW, so like in Ableton, to make a 4-chord progression. And the one I'm going to show you is in the key of G minor, just because that is the key that's used in a lot of hardcore production. I could do something like G major because it's easier to explain that way because it doesn't have any black keys in the piano. But then you'd have to just transcribe it, so change the key yourself to another key you want to compose in, and that is just more work for you. So I'm going to start with the tricky way and teach it to you in G minor. And this is what you can come out of with. So we have the key of G minor, and we have a 4-chord progression. So each one of these triads is a chord. And the chords are 1, 4, 6, and 5 in the scale of G minor, and I'll go over what those are soon, so don't panic if you don't know what they are. And when you play them together, that's your little 4-chord progression. It sounds kind of cute, kind of nice. You can also build on that by making a next progression of 4 other chords, and if I have time, I'll show you how to do that. So then you have 8 chords over 8 bars, and then you have enough to make a whole song with any combination of those. So going back to this app called Chordify. So what I can show you with this, what you're seeing is actually what I'm playing on the piano in front of me. So you'll see the notes here. And if you play guitar, so I left this fret, these guitar frets in, because if you do play guitar, maybe this helps you to understand by seeing it also how the chords and the notes are on the guitar. If you don't, and you don't want to be confused, just ignore it. If you're learning piano or most music theory, you'll see it according to the key signature or the staffs on the left hand side. So this app is like really cool. I recommend it. I had to pay for it, so I got it just for this tutorial. And I do it for free, so please go buy some merch. It's good quality, it's great, I would appreciate it. Okay, so I'm going to show you on this Chordify app how it looks when I put the keys in, or the notes in, and the chords. And you can also look right below it, so to see in the DAW, in Ableton Live, how this is playing out there. So you see the piano roll like on the left, on the y-axis, whatever. It's just like flipped. So it's the same as this, but rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise, I guess. Okay, so going back to the cheat sheet, you'll see on the left-hand side there's 3 different main quadrants, and they depict the major scale, the major scales, the minor scales, the natural minors, and the harmonic minors. And this is for the heptatonic scale, so this is the typical Western music scale that's used. It consists of 7 notes, and there's also many other types of scales, like the pentatonic scale, which has 5 notes, hence penta. And this is in a lot of like blues and jazz songs, but you can also hear it in rock songs like Stairway to Heaven or even like Amazing Grace. So we're focusing on the 7 note scale. And what differentiates the major and the 2 types of minor scales in this 7-note scale is the intervals between the different notes. So literally the steps between the different notes. And it's given by whole steps or half steps. And that's the same as saying whole tones or semitones. So here you can see on the cheat sheet, look at my little purple cursor. This is given in semitones. So 2 semitones equals 1 tone, 2 half steps equals 1 step. It's the same thing. So if we look at the major scale, say we want to start with a root key of G. So for G major, how would we find the keys that are going to be in that scale? So we just look at these tones and we figure out the 6 other keys. So the next key is 2 semitones, so 2 half steps away. That means 1 half step, 1 half step. This is a whole step, this is a half step. So we know it's G, and then the next key is A, because it's 2 half steps away. The same for the next one, half step, whole step. Oh, sorry, we're in major. That's right. And the next is only 1 semitone, so 1 half step. So it's right beside. And then we have another full step, full step, full step, and half step. And you'll notice, this is important, so when I'm showing you in the Chordify app and in the written notation, it's going to show you flats, but there's also sharps, and you should really know how to use both of them because they both communicate the same thing, just in the other direction. So we use flats for music theory more and not so much in like daily speech, I guess, unless you're a music theorist. So when you're producing with other people, they'll probably talk about sharp instead of flat. But the difference is, so going back to this cheat sheet, so the one I just used was B flat. So if you look, wait, let's not do that one, let's use A. So for the note of A, if you go up from A, it's A sharp. So sharps are always going up by 1 half tone. So F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, and flats are going the other way with respect to what the starting note is. So B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat. And that's why there's like no F flat, because it's just E. So when you see in the Chordify app, they'll have like F sharp, but yeah, no F flat. Anyway, that's enough theory for this. So we know how to figure out the notes in a major scale. Now let's do it for the minor, because that's more interesting for us. If you do hardstyle or euphoric, kind of anything, you're probably going to use a major scale. Terror is more like F sharp or F minor, and French chord is more like A or like A sharp minor. But yeah, I mean, you just play around with them, there's no fixed rules. So going to G minor, what would that be like? So we're looking at the natural minor now. So with semitones starting at G, that's our tonic. 2 steps, 1 step, 2 steps, 2 steps, 1 step, 2 step, 2 step. So that means when we play a melody, so when we play the right hand side, the notes that will carry the tune, so like if somebody's singing, that's what the melody is. When you play the melody, the melody can be in any of these notes for it to be in the key of G minor and still in tune. So the only difference between the natural and the harmonic minor is with the harmonic minor, the last 2 step intervals change. So instead of it being 2 half steps and 2 half steps, it's 3 half steps and 1 half step. And it makes it sound a little closer to the major scale. So this is the 3 half steps, because you're going from D sharp, E, F, F sharp. 1, 2, 3. And you can also change from the major scale or the natural minor going up to the harmonic minor going down. And this is something the hardstyle pianist told me, which is pretty cool. So then it would be like natural minor going up, and it gives it a little more exotic flair, and that was the harmonic minor going down. So that's enough about that. Let's go back to our cheat sheet so we know what our key is. We know the notes in our scale within that key. And now you want to build chords on top of that. So chords are triads. So meaning 3 different note combinations. And the chords are in actually keys. There are other keys, but still within the key of the scale that you're playing. So that's why if you go down to G minor here on the natural minor, just look at my cursor. So the first notes, see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So going horizontally, these are the notes in our scale of G minor. We start with G. Just forget about the minors because that depicts the chord and not the notes. So G, A sharp, C, D, D sharp, F. And then G is on the top again. So we can see left to right, these are just the notes of our scale. So we want to add the chords, and that's where the minor comes in here. So that's where you see G minor, C minor, and D minor for the key of G, the scale of G minor. So we have these Roman numerals here in the gray parts, and these depict the degree of the scale, and the degree is the number of steps away from the tonic or the root that the next chord progression is going to be at. So for G minor, the first degree is G minor here. It's not major, because remember for G major, so okay, step back. A chord is 1, 3, and 5. And for the minor scale, this is the difference. So you see the difference in the semitones here. This is a minor chord, and this is a major chord. So this would be the first chord for G minor, whereas this would be the first chord for G major. So it's just stepping a half step down, 1 semitone down, with the middle note of that chord to make it a minor. So the first degree here in G minor is itself G minor. I'm not going to talk about the second and third because those are more for jazz and improv, and it's really unlikely you're going to be using that for hardcore. If you do, like, good for you, I applaud you, but I'm not going to talk about them. So 2, 3, and the fourth is in C minor. So we have the root key of this chord is C, and then we have the third and the fifth here. So this is the chord of C minor, and it's played in the scale of G minor. So the first chord, the first degree for the chord in G minor is G minor here, and the fourth is C minor, and you can see that with this. This is the 4 Roman numeral. If we make the Roman numerals uppercase, that's major. And that's how you see for the scale of G major, it's just C instead of the scale for G minor. The fourth chord is C minor. So that's why you see the progression of lowercase to uppercase Roman numerals being different between the major and the minor. So it just helps you remember what the difference in that semitone, if the middle key is. Okay, so we have 1, 4, 5, because we have the roots here, D, and then we have D, G. So D, F, G. D sharp is 6. So we have D, and the middle chord is, and the last chord is, oh wait, no, that's right, sorry, I lied. And then we have the 7th chords in G minor is a F. So together, the chords that we're interested in for G minor are 1, which is a G minor chord, 4, which is C minor, 5, which is D minor, 6, which is D sharp major, because it's not, this would be minor, this is major, sounds better, and F, which is the 7th. Great, so it's already kind of sounding like some sort of music we're putting together. And if you look in Chordify, you also see the chord is written on the top here. And that's also quite helpful when you're learning. If you have Ableton Max for live, you can also throw on a MIDI reader to show you the chords that you're playing too, but it's really small and kind of annoying and useless, so I don't recommend that. Okay, so we know we can use the chord degrees 1, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So all we have to do now is just make little combinations of them. And there's popular chord progressions for pop music and every normal music. This is an example of them. So the way you would read this is here, like the chord progression of 1, 4, 5, back to 1 in the minor keys of A minor or B minor or D minor or E minor or F sharp. If you want to work from a chord progression that you want to know how it sounds like in the scale of your choice, say the progression 1, 4, 6, 5 in your scale, in your key, you go down to natural or harmonic, let's say natural. So G minor is 1, so we know the first chord in our progression of G minor with degree 1 is G minor. Then the next one is 4, so you go up and say, okay, what's 4? So follow my cursor here. 4 in G minor is C minor, and you also know that because it's the 4th note in that scale, so that's the root. And then what's 6? So you go up and find Roman numeral 6 and down to G, and that's D sharp. And we know it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so the 6th note is the root of this in chord of G minor. And then down to 5 again, that's what we're interested in. So we have from 6, which was D sharp, down to 5, which is D minor. So that's how you move from 1, 4, 6, and 5. That was harmonic. This is natural. And if you want to do it in another key, for example, if you want to go in A minor, it would sound like 1, oops, 1, what's 4? It's D minor, 6 is F major, and 5 is E minor. And if you want to do that harmonic, it's E major. So it's the same way to move through the sheets for any, like regardless of the scale you have, and that's what makes it easy to use for a cheat sheet. Okay, so now that we know how to kind of work our way through the cheat sheet, we know what our scale is, we know what our notes are, and we know what the chord progression options are for the scale that we choose, for the key that we choose. Now let's go around and actually put something into your DAW using this. So what I have here is an example of a chord progression which goes in the natural minor scale, because you see these are lowercase for the rights, the rights Roman numerals here, the right degrees. So the progression goes 1, 4, 6, 5, and in the key of G minor, that's going to be starting with G, so the first, and 1, 3, 5, because you have your triad. If it was major, it would be, but because it's half a step down, 1 semitone down, this is your first chord in the scale of G minor. We can go to the next chord, which is 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We know our root's going to be C for this chord. So we find out 1, 3, 5. If it were C major, the middle would be a half step up, but it's minor. And we see that because also it's a lowercase Roman numeral here. So we have 1, 4, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's going to be a chord with the root of G sharp, and it's going to be a major because this is uppercase. Minor would be this. 1, 4, 6, and you already kind of like imagine where it's going to go a little bit, and it's going to be down to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is a chord with the roots of D, and it's a minor here. So 1, 4, 6, 5, and that's a really common progression in pop and all other types of music. What you can do, so to make it sound a little more nice, is to make it change it from a natural minor to a harmonic minor, and you do that by changing what happens at the later, the higher degrees of chord progressions. So in this example, it would be changing it from D minor to D major. So in that case, it would be C minor, G minor, D sharp major, and D major, because you're moving that half step back up to where it would be if it originated in a major key. So that's how the harmonic minor can sound a little more orally, audically pleasing than the natural minor, and that's how you move between them. Another example is if you use the progression of 1, looking down here, so 1, 6, 5, and back to 1, we get G minor, D sharp major, D minor, and back to G minor. And again, if we removed this minor and made it a major, we would get G minor, D sharp major, D major, and G minor. So it just sounds a little more well-rounded if you use the harmonic minor for certain things. So now that we know that, let's go into our DAW and actually see how you put this together. Close this. Okay, so I'm using Ableton Live, and this is the chord progression that's we made. So the first was, okay, so it's 1, 4, 6, 5. I'm going to show you the Chordy app again. So here was 1, so that's your G minor scale. Good. Okay, that's your G minor scale. Then we went to C minor. That's what this chord is. Then D sharp major, that's what this is. And down to D, well, let's do D major because it sounds better. So this I'm actually doing in the harmonic minor. Natural would be this. And you can make these, so G is your roots. You go up half step, half step, half step, half step. So you can count using the half steps and the whole steps by just going up one note at a time on the MIDI. And that's why not all the chords, you can't just copy and paste them all, because the major and the minor, that middle note is going to be a half step above or below, depending on it's a minor or a major. Good. Now let's see what that would look like if we changed it to what we were looking at here. So 1, 6, 5, and back to 1. So we can copy it. So I just went Control D. So I went Control D to get a duplicate of this, and now we're gonna do, what did we say? 1, 6, 5, 1. 6, 5, 1. So how do the chords in that progression change versus what we had before? So 1 is going to be the same, that's our G minor. 6 was D sharp major, so that means we're going to move this chord up. So I selected all the notes and I'm just moving the up on the keyboard. And so this is what I meant between changing from major to minor. So this middle key, because this is a major key versus it being a minor before, this has to go up 1 half step, so 1 semitone. And then we're going down to 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's D major, let's say, because we're doing harmonic minor. Good, and then back to the root, which is G minor. So selecting all those. And then because it's minor, we're moving down the middle to a half step. So that one sounds like. Good. And if we wanted to combine this four chord progression into an 8-bar loop, we could just extend it a little bit here. I'm copy and pasting the notes from the second progression on after the first progression and make it 8s, and it sounds like. So that's really all you need for a song. You can make a song with only like 4 different chord progressions, but yeah, this makes it a little more interesting because you can spice it up this way. Yeah, so that's all I wanted to cover in this tutorial. It was pretty long, so I hope you're still with me. So what did I talk about? I told you to go look for the the cheat sheet for the chord progressions that I have on my website. I told you what a scale is in the Western music scale, what a major, natural minor, and harmonic minor is for those, how to find the different notes in those scales based on the semitones or the half-step combinations between them. I talked about how to read the degrees of the scale with the Roman numerals, going from 1 to 6, and the Roman numerals are different if the chord is a major chord versus a minor chord, and the difference between those is the middle note. So the middle notes for a minor chord is going to be a half step down from the middle note of a major chord. And I told you also what the difference is between sharps and the flats, and how to read them and know that A sharp is the same as B flat. Those are equivalent. So you can read different, you can read different theories in music as you come across them, and you can also communicate in the way using flats, which is a little more, or sharps, which is more common in everyday language and for people who don't use music theory so much. So then I told you how to choose a progression using combinations of 1, 4, 5, 6, and 7 degrees of the scale of your choice. And we went through common combinations of those, which you can see here. Play around with those yourself, see what the sound, the mood you want, how it comes out of these different chord combinations. And then we went into how to put that into your DAW. So starting with a 4-chord progression, we did progression of 1, 4, 5, 1, 4, 6, and 5. We did 1, 6, 5, back to 1. We changed a natural minor to a harmonic minor, and then we combined these into one 8-bar loop. And that's basically all you need to know to make chord progressions. So I hope this helped you. It was a long time coming and it was a long tutorial. So let me know if you understood it in the comments. Let me know if anything's not clear, and I will get back to you if I can help you on it. Good luck.